What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes
What's up? What's up?
and Daniel Acevedo.
How's it going, guys?
What's going on? So please continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday and Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion like today. Thursdays Ask a CISSP. I don't have one for this week, but I'll have one the following week. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from federalnewsnetwork.com, written by the easiest name of the week, Justin Doubleday, right? So thank you, Justin. I didn't have to butcher your name this week like I did the other ones. I'm sorry for everybody else. But the title of this one is TSA proposes cybersecurity requirements for pipelines, railroad operators. So this is something we've come up with before, right? Like we've talked about the infrastructure of America and um, how easy it may be to get to it, right? We've done several of these articles, right? We talked about the water treatment plants, right? Colonial Pipeline was a big one that we had. What was the one in Brazil with the food company? JBS?
Yeah, JBS.
JBS. We
Mhm.
talked about that, right? But this is kind of what this proposed rule is building on, right? It's cyber security requirements for TSA type things, right? So they're talking about railroads, they're talking about airlines, and again, this year we've talked about how cybersecurity has played a big part in that, right? Where we had the issue where you know all these flights got grounded because of some issues with software and what was going on. Not exactly a ransomware attack as much as it was self-inflicted for that one.
It was CrowdStrike. Yeah. So
Was it
CDK was
CrowdStrike?
Yeah,
CDK was the car dealerships, and CrowdStrike was
yeah,
the one that took down Microsoft systems.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, it was CrowdStrike. Okay, all right. I was like, man, it wasn't CrowdStrike, but that's what struck in my mind, like CrowdStrike. And I
yeah,
was like, no, that's not it. But yeah, so like that stuff is out there, right? Like, so what they're talking about here, what they're talking about protecting here, 73 freight railroads, 34 public transportation and passenger railroads, 71 over-the-road bus owners and operators, and 115 pipeline facilities, and systems regulated by the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, right? So you got to make sure you're taking care of that stuff, right? Like
yeah,
it's the same reason we take all those precautions to deal
yeah,
with nuclear safety, right? Department of
yep,
Energy and what they're doing there. They're talking about doing the same thing here for the TSA. So it's very much needed, very much one of the things that, um, as you look around the nation here, we do a lot of letting these private industries handle some of these things, right? Like the government is just like, okay, you take care of that for us, right? Like we're not going to
yeah,
hire people directly into the government. So you just have to make sure these people are doing what they need to do, right? Because the risks are out there. Like if people can't drink water, like that's one of those things where that's a nice and easy. Now you got people that don't drink water at all, right? They rather drink Mountain Dew all day, but there's water in Mountain Dew, right? So even then, like
yeah,
you run into a problem where
Was it, what
you
was
don't
the
have what you want.
idiocracy? What was it, Brondo or something
Yes,
like that?
it was
yeah,
yeah, it was the Gatorade though, right? Because the electrolytes is
Right.
yeah,
what
Yeah, it has
what they
electrolytes.
call it.
It's what
Yeah.
plants
Right? It's
crave.
what plants eat, right? I'm like,
yeah,
but
man.
like we'll see how soon we end up into idiocracy because there's days where man, it's closer and closer to being real life. But
We're already
yeah,
there.
Yeah,
Like,
we're
remember,
there.
we're already there.
I don't know as bad as the movie. I don't know about that, but we'll see, right?
It's the
So
Crocs. The Crocs are the tail. I'm sorry to disrupt you, but
yeah, you're good.
Crocs weren't really a thing because I watched the behind the scenes because that movie is so hilarious to me.
Yeah,
Where they picked Crocs because they said the lady who picked the Crocs, since she's in charge of design and stuff like that for
yeah,
clothing, she said those are idiot shoes. They'll never take off. What do you see everywhere now?
yeah, yeah.
She predicted the future.
Look, I got some. I use them as my shower shoes when I go to the gym. So yeah, I understand it, right? Like,
Yeah,
well, let me not say they're Crocs. I got the Walmart generic joints. You know what I mean? I think they're
Okay,
like
gotcha, gotcha.
Rugged Shark or something like that, but they're Crocs. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that's the name of them. Look, I know we're getting off topic. I'm sorry. But we went to Maryland for a visit. Like my kids want to go to the pool every day. My feet were getting torn up in these pools.
yeah,
So I was like, I need something on my
Yeah,
feet. So I went and got these cheap Walmart Rugged Sharks.
yep,
I might have paid like
rugged
$12.
sharks. It
For
sounds so
Crocs.
manly.
But yes, my, my background check. Yeah, we gotta make sure we're doing this right. And they mentioned all the different things that need to be protected. And again, this is history based, right? And we've seen it
yeah.
to where all of these things have taken attacks. But Daniel, what's your thoughts on this?
No, I think you hit a lot of good points. I only have two real notes on this one. Let me pull up my things. Uh, my first impact when I saw this was like, are we not doing this already? Are we allowing them to not self-attest, but kind of follow their own guidelines of whatever industry best practice they choose to adhere to? That's kind of scary. So, and then, I think the article says, hey, we want them to follow the NIST framework. And I think those are great recommendations, right? But for me, I think when industries tend to fall into this trap where NIST is good, it's the foundation you want to build upon. But for things like this and energy and DOE, we forget to look at, cyber analysts, red team, blue team, purple team, where we need that incorporated into these things. People are going to be able to stop a ransomware attack. People are going to be able to identify so colonial pipeline doesn't happen again. NIST, will have you build your incident response plan out. But having the people in place to be able for those things to not even happen altogether, that's where I think the real focus for these kind of industries you need to be at. And I think the government kind of hasn't caught up to that yet. The private industry, funny enough, you say CrowdStrike, Median, these kind of companies, therefore leading in those sectors, but the government still falls too heavy on like compliance side. And I'm in that boat. Like I did that for 12, 15 years. I love it. I understand it. It puts me to sleep when I can't sleep at night because the nest is very dry. But and I've only scratched the surface, and I say scratch the surface very generously in my point on the blue and red teaming stuff. I do the hack the box. I do all those kind of things. I haven't had a job where I've had to go too into the weeds doing that day in and day out. But that is where I think the government, for protecting these industries, I think the rubber hasn't hit the road yet. Like how it's incorporated into SOC and operations on a day to day basis is where we may be coming up a little bit short. Um, but yeah, those are my 2 cents. And I'm just going to point out that the article, not me, the article talks about Trump's impact and what that means. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one that's worried about that. But Ryan, what do you think?
No, I think you guys are going down a really good path in this discussion. What always blows my mind, right? So like critical infrastructure always piques my interest whenever we talk about it, not only because of its ramifications to the nation, but just how small or I don't even want to say small, but how we don't have a lot of it. Like we're not big on mass transit, right? Outside of your major hubs like New York, DC, uh, I can't even think of any like Scranton, Ohio. I don't know. Like see, the outgoing president, you always see him on the train waving, right? That's like his thing. Um, I feel like I see railroads and railways everywhere I go. However, I rarely see trains running on them, right? We don't really use like we do use our systems. They're just not as robust as I thought they were. So it's both a pro and a con in my mind, right? Like it should be easier to protect because we don't have a lot of it. We're not a Europe or a China, where we're like transit is at scale like humongous. Um, but at the same time, now it's easier to target because they don't have to breach 1,000 systems. It's only 73 in this case. To disrupt us pretty bad, where we're not getting, goods from point A to point B because we rely on them so heavily to get our freight and things of that nature across country. So it just blows my mind how small yet impactful our roadways and railroads and things of that nature are in the states because this country is humongous, right? Like if you look at a map at scale, like to get from point A to point B, like if people took that Oregon Trail in real life, that's ridiculous. That's why you got dysentery and cholera, right? Like that's that.
And died. And
Right, and tried to take your oxen through the river instead of going around, right? Like got swept away. But I say all that to say, like, yeah, it's very impactful, and it's not a lot of it. So like it has to be protected at all costs, or else we're going to have humongous issues, as we've talked about. Colonial Pipeline cause people to put gas in trash bags and go nuts, right? Because they're afraid of scarcity. The same thing with, in this case, it could be diapers, it could be canned foods, it could be X, Y, or Z. Like there's a lot that we rely on these systems. So here is my crazy take. Like I think the Trump administration will continue along this path because critical infrastructure is so important and it's very easy to see, right? So I'm going to say like this is common sense to go along this path. And their administration did do a lot of crucial things when it comes to that space, right? Like they might not be pro regulation, but they are pro in funding for cybersecurity, and they've shown that in the past. So I believe that to be true in this instance as well. However, here's my wild card. Here's my tinfoil hat theory. You got you got Elon on the team now, right? Like so, regardless of how you feel about Elon and what he's been talking about, and about Cybertrucks and all the other nonsense, the man has a team around him that is big into tech. So he's out here catching rockets. He's out here devising new ways to get cars from point A to point B that are self-driving. What if, by chance, perfect storm, right? Like I know it's probably not going to happen. Perfect storm. You have him on the team, and you take the leash off of him because right now he can't do drones, and he can't do fully self-driving cars. No administration in their right mind will let him do either or because packages will inevitably fall on people, and cars will run into each other on the
Mhm.
streets at first. But him unleashed, he went from rockets falling into the ocean to now catching rockets with chopsticks. So 4 years later down the road, and now our uh, I think some trains are already driving themselves, um, or whatever you would call a train moving. I don't know. I don't think you call it driving. But what if our freight is now driving itself? What if Amazon and UPS and whatnot are able to deliver packages via drone because you took the regulations? Some people are going to get hit in the head with packages. It's going to happen. So
But
some
there- but
cars are going to block roadways. But four
but
years from now, what if he gets it? And we
what
live in that utopian world.
what about the derailments though? Like if it is happening to where it's happening on its own and there's no conductors on there, the
Yeah,
derailments we have up in Ohio, is that going to become a more common occurrence? First off, like even though it is
yeah.
going to happen, that stuff is going to happen first. Like the devastation from that is far reaching. The materials that are being moved are very
Right, hazardous
toxic.
waste and
They're
things like
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
you would think you wouldn't give those first, right? Like you would ship dog food
Yeah.
first
Yeah. And candy.
via self-driving vehicles, cotton
So
candy, right?
so,
And then you
so
would move towards
yeah.
hazardous waste.
Yeah.
You would think so. But to your point, so like I have a coworker, real quick. I have a coworker whose father retired from the railway system, right? And they have a very good retirement set up for them. Like they're very good in what they get in their
Right.
benefits, right? So with the current administration, if they're supposed to be fiscal hawks, what's getting cut to make that happen, right? Like what's
Well,
going to happen? Are some
you're
of
not
these
getting a gold
benefits?
watch. Yeah,
It's more than a gold. They
like
get more than a gold
yeah.
watch now, but like what I'm saying is that those benefits that they do get, and like the survivors benefit plan type thing that they have and everything, which we have in the military as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, does that stuff go away for you to make that happen and to invest more money into this?
Oh, absolutely. When you put billionaires in charge of the way we do uh, business, like because U.S. is not all about business, it's actually the government is set up to protect people. Its entire purpose is to protect people, their well-being, and things of that nature, right? To provide safety nets when necessary. But you put billions in the charge of it, it's going to be cut at all costs. So we're going to have robots uh, hauling freight in self-driving vehicles and drones, and all these people are gonna not have jobs. However, um, we will live in the future at that point, so maybe there'll be a universal pay. People get paid to go plant gardens and trees. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds,
Yeah.
people. I'm just speculating. You potentially gonna get hit in the head with a can of beans, but eventually you're gonna get your packages same day via drone. Think about it. It's awesome. All right, you got to give something up in order to get these drone deliveries. I'm kind of for it. So I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. Though. All kidding aside, we'll see the next 4 years if we do make headways in this way, or like the bromance could falter the day after the inauguration, right? Like Elon might just go right back to doing SpaceX stuff. He might not be taking any part, right? Then he'll have to fly his drones in China because he's already doing the self-driving cars and stuff like that offshore. Other
Yeah.
countries will let him do it. The U.S. is like, nah, you're not doing that over here. So we'll see how all that works out in the very near future. Because 4 years is not a long time. Uh, like this past 4 years flew by. outside the
It,
pandemic. Yeah, right after the pandemic. So time stood still, and then boom, 4 years just flew by. So we'll see how all that works out. But definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. Hit up all the websites that go by our name. Hit me up personally. I'm at Rai Security Guy on pretty much all the platforms, but LinkedIn's my bread and butter. And Daniel, where can they find you?
you can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Daniel Acevedo.
There it is. Stay safe, stay secure.